parents and spread in the community, her efforts at reform would be seen as the crusade of an angry Arab woman. In the fall of 2021, I watched Sutman, who has long blonde hair and was wearing a loose, ankle-length black dress, read aloud the picture book, Our Skin, a first conversation about race. It was another of the new books the school had purchased. Around 20 white children, one Hispanic boy and one Asian girl, ages 6 to 8, in COVID masks with all sorts of motifs, a Batman logo, a smiley face, sat on a purple rug. The book was by Megan Madison, a black author who was a student of Long's when she was an English teacher in Traverse City. The book began by celebrating the wide array of human skin tones. Then Sutman read, "A long time ago, way before you were born, a group of white people made up an idea called race. They sorted people by skin color and said that white people were better, smarter, prettier, and that they deserve more than everybody else." Sutman lifted her eyes from the page. "Raise your hand if that makes you sad." "I've heard about this," a student volunteered. "It was on TV. It was brown people getting on the bus." "Harriet Tubman," a child yelled. The next child Sutman called on said, "They had a big war a long time ago. The whites got the big school and the blacks got the little school, but they had a big war and the blacks got to go to the big school." Sutman returned to the book, reading its examples of racism and reaching its final page. All the time, even right now, people are working for racial justice by telling the truth and sharing feelings. The illustration showed children of varied colors clutching signs. Black Lives Matter. Protests are progress. She read, "By bravely saying, 'That's not right,' by marching in protest, by singing songs that bring us together, by changing unfair rules, by teaching, helping, learning, and listening, we can do it too." Sutman has spent her 12-year career in Leland's school. It is where she went to school and where she and her husband were middle school sweethearts and where they now send their 2 children. Besides teaching, she is the lead organizer of Leland's 4th of July parade. "It's patriotic and pretty awesome," she told me, naming 2022's theme, "Red, White, and Leland Blue," the tint of a local stone. But she lamented the area's lack of diversity, that Leland's students could grow up not even recognizing that it's harder to be black or brown in America. She was upset about a county road commissioner's tirades about Black Lives Matter at a 2020 commission meeting and on local public radio. He used the N-word repeatedly, and afterward there were signs all over supporting him. The man was forced to resign, but for Sutman, he embodied the overt racism that seemed unleashed on the peninsula by Trump's presidency. Some of her first and second graders, she said, with their beautiful hearts and brains, are going home and hearing hateful things from the people they love. Her sense of what lurked in parts of the community, combined with the inspiring stance she felt Long had taken, influenced her teaching. She was also affected by her participation in the White Fragility book group and by her own reading from a website called Diverse Spines. It all led her to deliberately deliver this type of teaching to my students, teaching encapsulated in Our Skin, or another picture book called The Youngest Marcher. So far, she has received only scattered complaints from parents, but, she said, "I've had multiple people ask, 'How's that Black Lives Matter superintendent doing?' I'm scared to have this article come out and to have families not want their kids in my class anymore. If I hurt our school, that would hurt me." Her husband, Logan Sutman, is a school board member and talked about his upcoming volunteer work constructing entirely by hand a replica of the district's original building, a one-room schoolhouse on an island in Lake Michigan where loggers settled with their families in the 19th century. He radiates an exuberant loyalty to Leland, past and present. "I agree with every single thing," he said about Long's opening message, but we lost families that were big supporters of our school because of it. I'm much more middle of the road. I try to make everyone happy. He is the board member in charge of getting school funding levies passed by community vote for things like fixing a faulty heating system, a leaky roof, a drainage problem that sends water up through a hallway floor. Since Long's arrival, 2 votes on maintenance financing have gone against the school, which is unprecedented in his memory, and when funding was at last approved on a 3rd try this May, it was by the slenderest of margins. Chris Butts, a hunting and fishing guide, and his wife Angie are among the parents who moved their children out of Long's school soon after her post-Floyd pronouncement. The couple have 1 older biological white child and 4 adopted children who are black. 3 of their adopted children are now enrolled in a private Christian school in Traverse City. The oldest of the 4 is in cosmetology school. I believe Long's intentions were good, Butts said, but systemic racism is too strong. By definition, it means it's pervasive in an institution or in society, and I just don't see that as being true. I don't see society as being that way toward my children. It's a term used to pit people against each other instead of saying realistically that there are some racial issues. How do we come together and work on them? And, he added, for families like ours, you're potentially causing huge issues on top of the wounds of adoption. You're potentially causing a tinderbox at home. Brenda Clark, a landscape painter who sells her work in a lakefront gallery she and her husband own 10 miles from Leland, described herself and her husband as more liberal than a lot of people. One of their 2 daughters graduated from Leland just before Long became superintendent, and the other will be a senior there this fall. Clark said that since Long took over, the couple have pulled back from their engagement with the school. I feel compelled not to be involved with school fundraising anymore, she said. Stephanie's first letter, it sounded like an order. I don't need you to tell me to do that.